Hello friends, today we are going to learn something about social psychology. What is social psychology? Social psychology studies the individual behavior in the society, in the social event. Social psychology is a scientific study of collection of carefully made observation. We can collect or gather the information about issues and processes of interest and attitudes. Then we have to integrate all of these observations and make the general statement of principle. These principles help us to predict future observations. Social psychology focus on understanding the causes of social behavior, the reasons behind why do we behave in a particular way. For example, reasons behind why an individual is altruistic, why he is helpful to the people, and identifying the factors. All those factors, internal as well as external factors, that shape our behavior, thoughts, and feelings in social situation. That is the concern of social psychology. Kurt Lewin in 1951 explains the behavior is equal to the factor related to the person and environment. An individual, a person, is constantly interacting with the environment. These two factors are, are the important factors which result into the individual behavior. Rather, we can say behavior is the reason because of person interacting with the environment. Social psychology also studies individual experience and behavior of an individual. Individual experience in relation to other individual because he is constantly in contact with other individual, other person, sometimes group of people, sometimes with the society, and sometimes he is collective organization. He is also in relation to the culture, that is social situation, which differs from individual to individual. For example, why people help or being altruistic in a particular social situation or in a particular culture, that is what a scientific study done by social psychology. It is also that it is of an individual's behavior of an individual. Behavior of an individual causes and factors behind his behavior. Why a person behaves in a particular way, that is what say that behavior of an individual. Social psychology studies levels of social psychology, that is the individual level, interpersonal level, and group level. At individual level, we study an individual's attitude, his values, his beliefs, and his habits. This differs from individual to individual. All these are learned by the agents of the society. And who are the agents of the society? Parents, teachers, friends, grandparents, culture, social media, or from all these things, individual keeps learning various attitudes, etc. Second level is interpersonal level. When we interact with another person, then it is interpersonal level. Interaction between ourselves and other individual. It can be between ourselves and societies. It can be between ourselves and culture, nation, organization. By doing interpersonal interaction, we may get acceptance, sometimes rejection, love, aggression, avoidance, etc., which results in either joy or sorrow. Whereas third level is known as group level. The smallest group is a dyad group. And what is the dyad group? Group means more than one person, that is two people's group is known as dyad group, which has a special characteristics as a group. Today's most pressing problem faced by man is not biological problem, but it is a social problem which is created by himself. It helps us to understand how the social psychology is related to other disciplines. Mainly three important disciplines are there which keeps interacting with each other. That is anthropology. Anthropology is a study of evolution. The man from the previous generation has been evolving and changing. Secondly, sociology. Sociology is a discipline which study the study of a society. Because a human being is a part of a society, societal factors, norms, rules, and the society's norms they keep on affecting on the individual. And third, social psychology. Social psychology focus on the individual behavior in society. The interaction of all three disciplines results in behavior. Friends, let us try to understand what is the scope of psychology. Scope of psychology, social psychology, has a wide range. Social psychology studies leadership. Social psychology studies conformity, aggression, prejudice, health, law, environment, group behavior, etc. Also, social psychology is concerned with how the presence of the person influences on our behavior, thoughts, and feelings. Karsan Khan is a well-known psychologist who has conducted many experiments in finding out how the presence of other people influence on our behavior. Sometimes a presence of other person influences negatively on our behavior, on our thoughts and feelings. And sometimes the presence of other person influences on our behavior positively. Our thoughts becomes positive, our feelings becomes positive. That is how one person influences or impact on another individual. Secondly, social psychology also studies or has a scope to study that to, tries to understand the influence that individual perception and behavior have upon the behavior of a group. That is, we are trying to find it out. What are the various reasons behind conformity? What are the various reasons behind obedience? And so on. Thirdly, social psychology also studies understanding the group themselves. as a behavior of entity and influence of one group on another group. For example, hostility among the groups, or when person behaves differently when he is in group and his behavior is different when he is out group. Let us come to the next part of social psychology, that is known as social cognition. Social cognition has an attribution theory. How an individual process the information and make judgment of others is a social cognition. How an individual understands, learns from the environment, and collects the information about various people, various situations, and makes his own judgment, that is known as attribution theory. They have their own judgment. When they make their own judgment, that becomes a cause of their behavior. Behavior is uh, observed by other people. The process is not observed, but cause of behavior is there, and that's why people see the behavior. How an individual perceives the influence on their own behavior. An individual learns from others. There are two types of things, that is pre-existing knowledge structure that learn from others, and that is mental framework. There are two types of mental framework. One, schema, second, prototypes. What is schema? Schema is a mental framework which help us to interpret situation, or which help us to understand our surrounding. Schemas are further divided into three types. First is person schema. And friends, what is person schema? Person schema means we try to understand the people around us. There are many people who are very helpful people or helpful person, or some people around us are angry person. Some of them are honest person. Whereas role schema is, for example, what role a person is playing. For example, a woman can be a housewife, or a person, an individual can be a lawyer, or some of them are teachers. Teacher is a role what they are playing in the society. Housewife is the role what they are playing in the society. And third type is known as script or event schema. For example, cricket team members would expect the captain to behave in a certain way, or sometimes students also expect certain type of behavior from the teacher, that is known as event schema. Let us try to understand what is prototypes. Prototypes are also a mental framework, but it is a mental frameworks of the qualities one usually assigned to a group of category. For example, a sports club. Sports club is generally, we think that it is meant for wealthy people and it is a luxury game. While doing this, make an errors in attribution, or it is also known as cognitive bias. There are cognitive bias which may interfere in making correct attribution. Those are as follows. There are two types of bias. One is halo effect. Halo effect is a person's positive trait is used for infer other uniformly positive characteristics. It means It is used to infer other uniformly character, like if we understand a person that he is a nice person, then we also positively say that he is a smart person or he is an intelligent person. That becomes a halo effect. Whereas second one is positivity bias. It is a human tendency to overestimate good things in life. It inhibits the desired results. In social cognition, we try to understand our own behavior. Our understanding of our own behavior can be done by two ways. That is one, social comparison, knowing ourselves through others' point of view. That is looking through a glass. We try to understand, for example, a teacher try to understand and interpret, analyze her teaching through the student's feedback or from student's point of view. That is known as social comparison. Whereas knowing our own emotion, that is identifying our emotions by comparing with others or circumstances. All these things need to be studied. And how can we study the human behavior in the society? To be some methods of social psychology. Friends, there are many methods of social psychology. That is formulating the investigation. How are we going to investigation? Mainly, basically, there are two types of methods. One is method of data collection. How are we going to collect the information about the people, about the behavior? So there are sub methods under this, that is known as observation method, documents, questionnaire, interviews, and testing. Observation has a casual observation, has a systematic observation. We will come to that point little later. Documents, that is a historical document, sometimes we can verify those and try to understand why people behave in a particular way. Questionnaire, in psychology, we prepare the list of questionnaire which has objective questions and objective answers. A list of questionnaire is prepared from where we can come to know what people think. Sometimes we can take the interviews, casual interviews, sometimes systematic interviews, planned interviews, structured interviews, and then we can ask questions to the people and we can collect the information. And sometimes through testing. Another method is method of analysis. Method of analysis has again two subtypes. One is statistical method. Further, this statistical method is divided into two, that is correlational method and factor analysis method. Whereas logical and theoretical method is done through the formal deduction. Let us come to know what are the various common methods which are used in social psychology. As I told you before, observational method is very important method in social psychology. In observational method, as I told you, there are two types. That is casual observation. Casual observation is observation done of certain things, that what a particular boy is doing from morning till evening, and just we record it. For example, some people they write the diary about their own self. That is a casual observation. There is nothing specific to be written, but whatever has happened, they just write it down in the diary. That system is known as casual observation. Systematic observation has to be done by the trained psychologist because there is some problem, and for that problem we have to collect the information or collect the data, and then we have to formulate the hypothesis. On the basis of hypothesis we have to select the test, and then by conducting experiment we come to the conclusion. If it verifies our hypothesis, then it becomes a law, and if it doesn't verify the hypothesis, we have to go back to the stage of hypothesis, formulate new hypothesis on the basis of the data collected, and then again come to the conclusion. That is, there is a systematic procedure of studying some problem that is known as systematic observation and can be done only by trained psychologists. Second method is known as correlational method. Relationship between two or more variables. This relationship may be positive, may be negative, or may be zero. For example, if positive relation, if we have to talk about, if I have to give you an example, that if a child knows how to ride a bicycle, then he also learns positively balancing the two-wheeler. That is known as previous learning positively related to the next learning. Sometimes there is a negative correlationship. For example, all intelligent people may not be leaders. That is negative correlationship is there. Or sometimes uh, zero relationship is there, zero correlationship is there. Neither the um, one variable is facilitating the second variable, neither the first variable is hindering the next variable. Then when there is no relationship, it is called the zero correlation method. Next method is known as experimental method. This method is conducted in the laboratory. In the laboratory under controlled condition. First thing is that in experimental method we have the experiment. Experiment means we have to find out the relationship between the cause and effect. That is called experiment. We are conducting the experiment. Then we have to formulate the hypothesis. What is hypothesis? Hypothesis and assumption. We assume that this may be the cause of this effect. That has to be tested afterwards through the test or through the experiment. But we have to assume certain things before we go for an experiment. In that experimental method, there are variables. What is variable, friends? Variable means factors. There are two types of variable. One, independent variable, and second, dependent variable. Independent variable is manipulated by the psychologist, and dependent variable which depends on the independent variable. Independent variable is that variable whose effect we want to find it out, and dependent variable depends on independent variable. For example, we are going to give training to one person, computer training to one person, and we are going to see the effect of computer training on his performance. So here, giving computer training or not giving computer training is in the hand of psychologist. So he is manipulating that independent variable, computer training. And what is dependent variable? Dependent variable is performance, which depends on the independent variable. That means what performance an individual will give on the computer will depend whether he has received the computer training or not. That is dependent variable. Then we will have the experimental group. There are two types of group. One is experimental group and second is control group. Experimental group, we will give the computer training, for example, and we will see the effect on the performance. Whereas control group, we will not give the computer training and will see the effect of the performance. We'll compare the performance of experimental group with the control group. That is called design of the experiment. And lastly, use of statistics. To interpret the results of the experiments, we need to have the knowledge or help of statistics. We have to take it so that we can come to know what are the results. Fourth method is known as ethnography method, which is a qualitative research. It can be done in everyday routine life. For example, studies of schooling, rural and urban development, we can find it out the public health. Now we will come to the application of social psychology or current trends in social psychology. Social psychology has new trends or application in various fields. First field is known as population psychology. Second, health psychology, environmental psychology, industrial and organizational psychology, legal system or psychology of law. Let us, friends, understand trend into detail. Population psychology studies the psychological consequences of population. Population psychology concentrates on the effect of the rapid expansion of the number of humans on the earth and how to control it. There are consequences of the population in relation to the high density and low density. It does affect on the human behavior. There is another part that is we learn from population psychology is a sampling aspect. For the study of population or to study any factor, we have to take the sample from the population. So this sampling is of a different types. For example, representative sample. That means the group of people are there, large group of people are there. It is not possible to study each and every individual. So what do? Is we select some of the people, some of the group of people, that is called the representative sample of that larger group of people. Secondly, random sampling. We take random people from various areas and we study, or sometimes stratified sampling. That means it depends on the problem which is under our study. According to that, we will categorize the sample. Sampling of the population can be done on the basis of gender. Some of the projects or some of the topics are based on the gender comparison. Sometimes on the age, basis of the age, we can do the sampling, or sometimes on the basis of race or income, or sometimes social status, lower status or the middle status or upper status. Social psychology is concerned with changing attitude and enhancing sensitivity to bring this change. That is the population psychology. Let us come to the next part of the psychology, that is called health psychology. Psychology studies psychological processes affecting the development, prevention, and treatment of physical illness. Human beings, they suffer from various physical illness, but how to come out of this illness has some psychological process. For example, illness depends on how patient think about his illness. If he is very positive that I will recover from the illness and he perceives that his illness is curable, then the patient will recover faster. Secondly, it also depends on how his doctor interacts with his patient. The doctors can, by counseling or by talking, he can give the confidence to the patient that he will recover faster. Sometimes illness is related to the personality characters also. Thirdly, socioeconomic status also affects on the health. People, for example, people who are staying in the slum area, they are more prone to the health problem compared to the people of upper socioeconomic status. Mostly, the stress is related to the illness. There are two types of stress we have in our life. That is life related stress. That is, we are taking stress of our children or their education, their job perspectives, or their marriages, etc. And sometimes some life related stress is related to our life partner. Sometimes life partner adjustment or illness, etc. Second type of stress is related to the job. Maybe at workplace, boss behavior or immediate supervisor's behavior or the type of the work what we are doing there may affect on our health. That is the concern of health psychology. Third trend in social psychology is about the environmental psychology. Environmental psychology is concerned with the environment around us in which we are living. There are two again aspects which we can study, that is environmental factors affecting on human behavior. There are many changes taking in the environment. For example, global warming is one of the aspects, or the floods, earthquakes, tornadoes, tornadoes or tsunami, noise, crowding, atmosphere, air pollution. These are the environmental factors on which we do not have any control, and they do affect on our behavior. Secondly, human behavior affects the environment. We can contribute to the environment by our own behavior. For example, there are positive contribution by human to the environment, like preparing the gardens, planting the trees. These are the positive changes we can bring it in the environment. And sometimes there are negative. That is nuclear threat, which is a threat to the environment. It's a human behavior. Human is creating all these problems to the environment. Meteorological effect, global warming is happening because of humans are having factories. So that is going to affect on the environment, or the waste which we are creating in the environment, and plastic bags which we are throwing in the rivers, ocean, due to which the environment is getting affected negatively. Can we prevent and control our behavior? Yes, friends, we can take the preventive measures to control our planet Earth. The first thing what we can do is modifying the behavior. We can change our perception, we can change our attitude towards the environment. We can bring some regulations or laws or some bans on the on our uh, contribution to the environment. For example, in perception, we can control the pollution. By controlling the pollution, we can positively contribute to the environment. If we keep our vehicles free of um, pollution, then we can have a healthy environment. Second is regulation. Regulations are laws. Certain laws we can bring to change our behavior. And third is ecological behavior. That means, for example, eco-friendly objects we can use it. For example, low phosphate soap we can use it so that we can have better environment. Secondly, we can remind people to act in accordance with attitudes and beliefs. For example, if we keep telling people or keep putting the banners saying that keep our city clean. So, place to place, if we put such banners, it will remind people that we should keep our city clean so they will not throw the litter here and there. Third is pro environmental attitude. That is, we can tell people that do not waste water. Water scarcity may affect in future generation. So we can tell people that not to waste the water and save water. Do not do the smoking. Smoking also causes problem. So pro environment attitude if we have towards the environment, we can save our planet Earth. Fourth one is littering problem. Instead of throwing and waste papers here and there or chocolate wrappers here and there, we can use dustbin. So use of dustbin will help us to solve the littering problem. Fourth one is reinforcing. Fifth one is reinforcing responsible environmental behavior. For example, in the movie theater, if we provide the litter bags, people will not litter in the movie theater. They will put it in the bag and then that bag can be put it into the dustbin. Then legislating the attitudinal change. That is, we can have the empty bottles returning back to the shopkeeper and taking the money back. That way we can contribute to the environment by giving the empty bottles back to the person for the reuse. We can also encourage the people on the greenhouse, that is a positive effect will bring planting the trees, encouraging the school children to plant the trees, encouraging ourselves to have garden or always think about the go green. Next point is industrial and organizational psychology. Application of psychology in understanding the employee behavior in work setting. Nowadays, the evolution has come into the field of industry and employees are not considered as an employee but it is considered as a human and human is working in the work setting. So, therefore, many changes have come in the industry. Lot of revolution took place. Munsterberg was the first person to bring the revolution in industrial and organizational psychology. Work related attitude towards the job and satisfaction in the job. These are also a concern of industrial and organizational psychology. If you have a positive attitude towards the job, you are committed to the job, and you will put your efforts into the job, and hence you will experience the job satisfaction. But if an employee is having negative attitude towards the job, it may result in absenteeism, and in turn it will result in dissatisfaction in the job. Industrial psychologists, they are also concerned about the evaluation of the job. Job is of a different categories and of different ranks. We have to evaluate the title of the job, job description, job uh, related activities, or evaluation of the job has to be done. That is minutely stepping down each and every job. That is also a concern of industrial and organizational psychology. Apart from this, work motivation at the workplace is important. Motivation of the employees to work better. So sometimes some incentives are introduced in some industries. Communication skill among the co-workers, communication skill between the employees, lower level employees with the middle level employees, or the employees with the supervisor, supervisor with the manager, manager with the uh, upper level authority. So we have the structure in the industry. Among this structure, vertical as well as horizontal, we have to have the communication skills. Every organization, they have conflict. It is unavoidable aspect, and we have to deal with this conflict. Sometimes dealing with the conflict is a healthy way of being in the organization. Conflict has to be, or issues has to be brought up into the meeting and has to be dealt openly with a healthy attitude and try to solve these conflicts. The field of psychology, industrial and organizational psychology, has three major concerns, that is selection of an employee. If employee is selected properly, that employee is going to contribute to the industry. If selection is wrong, the industry may have the negative effect on it. Second, training of employees. Industry has expectation from every employee, but employees' present status may not reach to the expectation of the industry. So needs to be updated with the knowledge, with the information, or with the techniques, or with the skills. So it is decided by the industry to give them training. Industries spend lot of money on the training of employees because they know that they can make out of these employees to the maximum. Thirdly, employee relations. They are also very important. Vertical relationship as well as horizontal relationship. Let us come to the new trend of social psychology, that is psychology of law or legal system and psychology. What psychologists are doing in the court? Legal procedure depends on the reports and evidences by witnesses. Witness is very important person in the court. Defendant is another person and jury is another. So defendant physical attractiveness affects on the judgment, or the sex of the defendant also affects on the judgment. Sometimes race of the defendant affects on the judgment, or victim's race also affects on the judgment. Sometimes there are biases in favor of defendant. Secondly, the jury, whose post-judicial experience will affect on a judgment. Sometimes some laws are popular, some laws are unpopular, and what type of a punishment has to be given is decided by the jury. whereas eyewitness is a testimony is often inaccurate, which may affect on the jury's verdict. Friends, now we will about the social influence. Social influence is defined as change in an individual's thoughts, feelings, attitudes, and behavior that result from interaction with other individual or group. Yes, friend, it is proved in psychology that other people they may change our thoughts and our feelings or our behavior. Let us see what are those techniques of which influences on us. Factors that influence to say yes by others are as follows. First one is conformity. Conformity in which people are more willing to take a recommended step if they see many others are doing so. The human need to fit in is a very strong and make us comply in order to be a part of majority. For this reason, we can check out with the ash experiment. What is ash experiment? In ash experiment, 9 people are sitting in the semicircular position, and in front of them there are two boards. On one board there is a standard line, for example, of a 3 inches, and on second board there are 3 lines of a slightly differing 3 inches, and one is exactly of 3 inch. So line A, line B, and line C. The subjects are supposed to tell which line A, B, C, which one out of this is equal to the line which is the standard line shown on first board. And it seems that the first one answers, second one answers, like that all people answers the correct one. In second trial, again the all people they answered the correct. Every time the standard line is changed. And after 3-4 trials, the first one gives the wrong answer. When the answer is C, which is correct, but he says it is B, so as second one, so as third one. And at the end, if you are the last one to answer, all of them have said the answer B is correct, and you are the last one and you understand the answer C is correct, what are you going to do? Are you going to join with the group or are you going to stand apart from the group? Mostly people they join the group because they comply with the group, because they want have to say yes to the group, because they want to remain with the group, they want to fit into the group, and that is why they cannot stand apart from the group, and that is known as conformity. The experiment also proves that the last person who is a subject, rest of all people they are confederate of the psychologist. It is planned experiment, and only the experiment is going on with the last person. And it was found that when all other 8 people has given wrong answer, the ninth one being a subject also gives the wrong answer. That means he wants to be with the group and he feels comfortable to be with the group instead of getting away from the group. That is known as conformity. The second one is known as compliance. Compliance, it is a submission made in reaction to the request. Many people they request certain things. Our friends also request it to us, and we comply to their request. We accept their request. Sometimes we reciprocate the request because somebody has done something to us, helped us. That's why in return we help us. That is, we are reciprocating the request. Or sometimes we like people whom we like. We like our siblings, we like our parents, we like our teachers, we like our friends. So if they request, we cannot say no and we comply. Sometimes we are committed to the request and we comply to it. There are four strategies in compliance. First one is foot in the door technique. Very small, modest request is done, and then afterwards a big request or large request is done. If you comply to the small request, there are chances that you cannot deny the large request. One experiment was conducted in California with the housewives. Psychologists assistants they approached to the housewives in California and asked them to fill up the questionnaire asking them whether they have fridge in their house, whether they have car in their house, whether they have oven in their house, whether they have washing machine, etc. Very small request was done and immediately housewives they have given the tick mark on the questionnaire. After few weeks, the same assistant approached to this housewife and they asked that we want to verify whether you have all these appliances at home. And most of the ladies they did not or they could not deny this large request done by the assistant. That is foot in the door technique. Second technique is door in the face technique. From large requests, they come to the small requests. They demand large amount and then they reduce to the less amount. Most of the time, sometimes our friends also, they ask for a big amount from us and we deny it and then they request us to the small amount and we cannot reject it and we comply to their request. Third one is low ball technique. This technique is mostly used by the marketing people or it is used by the shopkeepers. That is persuasion and selling technique. Most of the time there are sales in the shops. Various sales are going on and we see the board of sale and we go into the shop. That is the way they attract us to come into the shop. Once we go into the shop, we like certain things there. And then they say that sale is not on these things, sale is only on these items which are placed on the table. And sometimes some item is offered at a very less amount and then they play with us and they say that this item is not at the so low rate but then it is of a bigger rate and they change the deal in the mid state. Fourth technique is known as ingratitude technique. That is, an individual attempts to influence another person by becoming. These are various factors which influence on people and people say yes to their request. These techniques are used by the many people in our surrounding and it is used by the marketeers also and they get the target person say yes. That is a there is a third one social influence which is called obedience. Who obeys whom? Higher status people's order are obeyed by the lower status people. CEO, boss, presidents, these people they order and lower level employees have to accept it. Sometimes vice versa, that sometimes lower people has their demand and upper people they have to accept it. Some people they have an obedience to the law. It can be a self-imposed constraints that a person makes the resolutions. Sometimes government laws are there which we obey to that. Obedience to social norms. Every society differs from place to place, culture to culture, community to community. And social norms also differs from place to place, culture to culture, community to community. But every group of people they have to obey the social norms in which they are living. We obey our God, we obey our religion, whatever our religion says, we accept it without questioning. That is called obedience. We obey our parents. Sometimes parents obey their children, husband obeys their spouse, students they obey their teachers. There is a obedience to the authority, to the boss, expert people, to the management. There is a Milgram's experiment conducted in social psychology where the subject is the person who is supposed to deliver a shock, mild electric shock, while teaching some words to the another person who is sitting on the electrode chair. And every time if he makes a mistake while learning, the person has to deliver a shock. Psychologist is there watching over the experiment, and then a person who is teaching is very careful in teaching because he knows that if the subject makes, if the person who is sitting in the electrode chair makes a mistake, then he has to deliver the mild shock. So first mistake was made, and he looks at the psychologist. Psychologist with tells him to deliver a shock, and every time he makes a mistake, every time he has to deliver a shock of more intensity. So the pressure comes on the person who is delivering a shock, and that is how much he obeys psychologist instructions and how much he delivers the shock. This is the obedience experiment. Friends, now we are going to study about the pro-social behavior and factors contributing to the pro-social behavior. What is pro-social behavior? Pro-social behavior is any act performed with the goal of benefiting another person. Intention is that the other person will get the advantage or gets the benefit of our behavior. Pro-social behavior may include helping people. Many people help other people and they feel happy about it. Sometimes they share the information which may be helpful to other people, which may be beneficial to other people. Sometimes by giving certain objects, certain material, certain knowledge, certain information, other people may get benefited, and comforting others by giving some help to others. Prosocial behavior is often accompanied by psychological and social reward for its performers. Psychological reward, a person feels very happy by helping others. Social rewards, by looking at his behavior, others also may get motivated to perform in a prosocial manner. There are many factors which affect on a prosocial behavior. That means who will help whom. It was found out by social psychologists that physical attractiveness, people who are looking physically good, they receive more help than compared to other people. Second factor which dominates the prosocial behavior is similar or likable others. That means in-group receives more help than out-group. What is in group? In group is the people, for example, all doctors are there. Then doctors are in group, but engineers are, for example, out group. So one doctor will help more to another doctor compared to the engineers. That is known as similarity. Kinship, that is close relatives, positive friends influence our friends or peers or very close ones, siblings, they receive more help than the strangers. Religiosity, that donors will receive more help than people who are not the donors. Victim perspective, that means empathy. What is empathy, friends? Empathy means being into others' situation. Put yourself in other shoes and experience what that person is experiencing. That is called empathy. Sympathy means just feeling bad about someone is suffering. But empathy means putting yourself into that particular person's position and experiencing or going through that person's suffering. That is called empathy. Empathy will enhance altruistic behavior. Altruistic behavior means helping nature. So if you put yourself into the victim's position, there are more chances that your helping nature or altruistic behavior will enhance. Personal experience differs from individual to individual. Every individual have their own experiences. On that basis of their experiences, they may help people. Gender differences are there. Girls receives more help than boys because society or the people assume that girls are very delicate, they are very weak, so they receive more help than boys. Social norms are also there that the boys should not expect the help from others. They have to be independent, they will be able to solve their own problems or issues. So that is gender aspect is also there. And age, the younger people or younger ones, they receive more help than adult person. That is called pro-social. Let us come to the interpersonal attraction. What is interpersonal attraction? Interpersonal attraction is the attraction between people which leads to liking or friendship and in turn in the romantic relationship. Interpersonal attraction is related to how much we love or like, or sometimes some people they dislike each other or they hate someone. It is a force acting between two people that tends to draw them together and resist them to separate. Either people will come together because of liking, because of similarity, some factors are there, or sometimes they go apart or they get separated from each other. So let us understand, friends, what are the factors which affect interpersonal attraction. First one is physical attractiveness. It means good looks or physical beauty that attracts people. It is well known and universal phenomena about physical attractiveness. Secondly, perceived inter attitude similarity is common among adolescent children to get attracted. That if they like other person and they are similar in their attitudes, there are chances that they will get attracted towards each other after the physical attractiveness. After that, the internal qualities like kindness, helpfulness, outgoing nature may attract other people. This is one of the factors. Second factor is proximity, means nearness. More we see people, more we interact with the people, and more we like the people. Mere exposure also has a positive effect on the people. According to Festinger, sheer distance between the houses is a factor of attraction. Means very close neighbor, they may get attracted more than the neighbor who is staying opposite of our house. That is what the Festinger has conducted the experiment. Even the direction in which house is placed is also a reason for interpersonal attraction. Third point is similarity. Similarity in physical appearance, similarity in attitudes, positive attitudes or negative attitudes, similarity in social and cultural background, similarity in personality, similarity in interest and activities. What games we like it, others are also liking it, then we do get attracted towards each other. There are some theories of interpersonal attractions. Theories of interpersonal attractions are there are two types of theories. One is evolutionary theory and second is the reciprocity of liking people. Let us understand one by one. What is evolutionary theory? Evolutionary theory is interpersonal attraction results into the romantic relationship. Here the intention is fertility. Intention is reproduction. Fertility matters more to the male than woman. Women expect resources and protections, whereas male expects the reproduction. Physical features that is more attractive is more healthy people, and healthy may have likely that they pass on to the passes the healthy genetic traits. That is evolutionary theory. Whereas the reciprocity of liking people, we like people who likes us. We like those who reward us. Reward us in the sense they approve us, they accept us, and it enhances social esteem, worth of ourselves, being in the society, being in someone's life. Then it is a social reward to us. It gives happiness, it gives joy, it gives us satisfaction, it gives us social approval, and people they like to reciprocate their liking. Rewarding reduces anxiety. Rewarding also reduces stress. When somebody accepts us, we feel happy, so stress is reduced. It reduces the loneliness. Being with others is always have a positive effect on our behavior. It also enhances self-esteem. It motivates our behavior. Presence of other people, it reduces our anxiety, it reduces our stress, and it reduces our self-esteem. For example, how it reduces our anxiety? For example, in exam days, friends approach more than other days. Presence of others reduces our anxiety and reduces our insecurity. Stress. Individual place in the stressful situation shows less physiological disturbances in presence of others. Whereas self-esteem is high self-esteem person is more receptive of love than low self-esteem. Aggression and violence. Human aggression is any behavior directed towards other individual with an intention to harm. Aggression leads to the use of physical force or assault with the weapon or intention to harm others. Loud verbal attack, or it can be a verbal abuse or ruining someone's life with gossip, damaging and destroying others' property, sometimes breaking the street light or damaging the property of the society. All this is a result of aggression. It can be towards one individual, it can be towards the group of people, or it can be towards the object or the property of society. There are types of aggression. First type of aggression is instrumental versus hostile aggression. What is instrumental aggression? Instrumental aggression produces some positive impact on aggressor, whereas hostile aggression induces injury and negative impact. Second type of an aggression is proactive aggression or versus reactive aggression. Proactive aggression is a reaction to insult or attack, whereas reactive aggression is has other motives of obtaining others' goods or their power or their approval. Third type of aggression is positive versus negative aggression. Positive aggression is to elicit cooperation from others and competitive behavior in others, which will help to enhance in their performance. Whereas negative aggression elicits the disapproval and destruction among others. Some causes of aggression. First cause is neurological cause. According to this theory, it is said that aggression is inborn and it is not learned. It is present by birth and it is due to some hormones in the body. Second cause or second reason of aggression is biological, which is an internal stimulus. It comes from inside. It may be due to the brain dysfunction or due to testosterone or due to serotonin or birth complications and because of the nutrition deficiency or it is because of the less of vitamins. The third factor which is causes the aggression is environmental. It comes from family. Maybe in some family, father is angry, so the son is also angry because father becomes the model of anger for the son. Sometimes it is situational. The situation or the event in the family or in the environment takes such a place that we show the aggression. It is social learning. We learn it from the media, mass media, from the movies, from the paper, from the pamphlet, from some models, some sometimes from the teachers also, and it is a job competition. We may have an aggression because the job pressures and job deadlines may cause aggression. That is what we have studied about the social psychology, and um, I hope that the much explanation has been given. Further topics will be explained in the next video. Keep tuned to the for the next video. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share my video. Thank you so much.